Where am I? What are those strange images? What's that sound? Is it the sound of the universe? Otaku. Otaku? The hell is an otaku?
I would probably say it's like those guys that like never leave their basement.
They're very eccentric. They're really fun to be around with. Sometimes it does get a little bit, whoa.
To be an otaku, it means like a person who's really into like anime and manga and like going to conventions and
basically a person who has a passion for Japanese culture of anime.
I would say for some people it could be their passion, yeah. And then there's some people where it's like they're like obsessive over it maybe.
People who love to watch anime and enjoy in the culture of Japanese culture, and also they love
seeing people dress up as your favorite anime or manga character. So
an otaku can be a hobbyist, somebody that has a distinct passion in what they like. Now, originally, an otaku was somebody that was more of a derogatory term called shut in, somebody who didn't go out much. Their hobby or their passion for their hobby stayed inside. It was very privatized. And they were very, I don't want to say antisocial, but they didn't know how to socialize as well as the norm. And now we've seen a change in generations where otaku is embraced, it's passionate.
And actually brings that forward into their lives. It's like an extension type of thing.
Oh my, that sounds interesting. But what is anime? When did anime start?
Yeah, I'm thinking just like Cowboy Bebop.
Inuyasha and Dragon Ball Z.
No, not really. I was thinking it's probably like Dragon Ball.
I think Astro Boy, because it has to happen between World War II, the bomb of when the U.S. bombed Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Astro Boy, because that was the first anime that Japan made because of the nuclear warfare.
Their livelihood went down and their hope went down. So one artist decided, let's make a comic book to like inspire people that we can come up from this. There's a better life.
Speed Racer. Mach a Go Go Go, which is original Japanese title.
Okay, Speed Racer too. Okay, Astro Boy. I kind of had an inkling about Astro Boy, but I wasn't sure.
For the time, I could definitely see that, because Speed Racer, it's definitely like got that, well, both of them, I guess you could say, have like those big like Japanese feels to them, because it's all like future stuff. There's a lot of like crazy weapons and like a lot of like crazy, I guess, like angles and like cameras and stuff like that.
Speed Racer came to America, and Peter Fernandez, which was the voice actor who did Speed and a couple other voices in it, and he wrote the theme song to the American theme song to Speed Racer. It actually had a different theme, but it came to America in 1966, was originally in Japan in '64. So that's what started it all. We had Astro Boy, we had Marine Boy, we had Prince Planet, we had Speed Racer. That was just in the 60s.
That's quite interesting. Are they all the same? Is it all just science and robots? What else is out there?
There's two of them. It's like the Magical Girl, which is like the Sailor Moon, the Tokyo Mew Mew, like sort of big 30-second colorful transformation.
Anime is very diverse. You can go from something sugary sweet to something completely opposite.
Then there's the erotic ones. We don't talk about those. We don't talk about those.
You got like Gundam, which is all like big mech fights, which are good. Mech fights are great. Yes. Not all of them, but some of them are good.
Slice of life. So it's kind of your regular TV show genres that you always see on TV.
It's very realistic. It's just like everyday events. So it's like, it's a series where it's just like you kind of watch these group of characters just kind of go about their lives and like grow up together, usually, kind of thing.
But why do people care? Why do they enjoy these shows? Is there some kind of emotional connection?
Yes, because for me as an animator, I mean, just for being an animator itself, like when I grew up, I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh!, I was watching Pokemon. I actually felt like in tune with those characters and about their life, what they were going through, you know, little meanings here and there. I got to put that into my life.
It's kind of like when you're a kid and you have like that favorite character from a cartoon. Is it sort of like anime is very similar, where it's just like the characters. I guess the difference is that like with anime, the characters are more like realistic feeling, so they're more easy to like relate to.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. It's kind of with everything, because as a storyteller, they always want to relate to the person or relate to the viewer as they're watching. Especially like this little blanket of Umaru, she's always nice and kind and perfect at school, but at home she's a lazy slob that loves to eat junk food. And honestly, that kind of speaks to me because I do pretty well in school. I mostly get like A's, high B's, and when I go home, I'm just like, yeah, let's just curl up in a ball, eat some pizza while my friends give me belly rubs.
The viewers of anime are more passionate, they're more emotional. They invest their time watching anime, they feel for the characters. Whereas if you look at American comics, which I read, I don't feel I've invested so much emotion into the book, or if I watch Avengers, I'm not emotionally invested in it. But anime people are invested in it. It's more of a soulful approach to what they watch, a soulful approach to what they read. And this is where you see the word otaku come into place, because they're extremely passionate towards these characters. If one dies, there's a lot of emotion because they're deeply invested in these characters.
Yeah, it depends on the person you are. Like if you're really into it, then yeah, you're gonna be passionate about it. But if you're not, then it's just like something you do casually. Like most people like watch Naruto just for the fights, and you're pretty casual in it, but you're not passionate about like everything about it. So.
Is this the reason you're dressing up like them? Why dress up like them? How much does it mean to cosplay to an otaku?
The majority of otakus will have some way or form affiliated with cosplay, whether they're doing it or whether they're bystanders. It's you can't have one without the other. They're tightly knit. So if you're an otaku, you're very familiar with cosplay.
As someone who's cosplayed before, having putting the time into making the character and like making yourself look like the character is sort of helps with that whole like connecting you more to them, because there have been a ton of characters that I've looked at them, I'm like, I know exactly that situation you're in and I know exactly what your problems and your feelings are, and dude, same.
A cosplay is just you are mimicking or trying to be a character. So comic conventions is also a cosplay. Anime is a cosplay. Video games are cosplays. So as long as you are trying to embed into a character, then you're cosplaying as that person.
Yeah, I would say it is. Now, not everybody will cosplay, because I know per se I don't cosplay. I mean, I will probably in the future, but it's not something that everybody would do. But I know everybody enjoys seeing people dress up as your favorite anime character.
100%, I believe. 100%. I can't see one without the other. Like, if you're really into it, then go for it. But if you don't have the means to it, well, then you always can go to a convention and don't be alone.
In the anime sense, we are now picking up and cosplaying in America a lot. But if you look at 1970s, 1980s, even the 60s, comic book convention, you would see somebody maybe as Batman or Spider-Man, but very uncommon because cosplay was not prevalent back then as it is now. Now you go to a show, whether it's anime or comic book, there's cosplayers everywhere. So it's become part of the society of this type of hobby for both American and Japanese.
I don't look good in costume. Is there any other way to have a piece of this world in my life?
I can speak from personal preference. Like, I collect like pop figures from like my favorite anime and manga and stuff like that. So I think it's really cool to collect things.
I have maybe like 2 statues and like a couple phone charms, and then I mostly do like posters. Like I collect posters, but I collect posters for like everything that I'm into. So it's like posters and pins, but some people, they like full on like clothing posters, figures, toys. Some people will do like Sailor Moon, because she has like all those little accessories. Like some people will have like multiple versions of all the accessories.
That's so fascinating. But is there something bigger than this? You know, all around, like something where they can convene with each other?
It's life. It is life. It's a lifestyle. I've met people who would actually drive 6-7 hours just to go to a convention, just because of the community and how it makes them feel as an individual.
If all like anime watchers and manga readers could, they would all go to a convention, because the sense of community you get from being there around a bunch of people who enjoy what you do. Because I wouldn't say there's not a lot of people who like enjoy manga or anime, but it's very rare in certain situations. So it's like you might not be always around a person who's really into what you're into. So going to a con will most definitely, like, I'm surrounded by people who just enjoy everything I enjoy. So
An anime convention has more emotion. And this is one thing about anime compared to comics. And it's a stereotype because it's a fact. You're going to see more excitement at an anime show because
With over the last like 20 years, I would say, anime has definitely like shot up in like popularity. And there are a lot of people, even some people who are just like casual, like, oh yeah, I watch like Dragon Ball Z, but I also like do football, and I like also watch Once Upon a Time. Like, they will go to anime cons because there's just so much anime in like one building for like 3 days. It's just nothing but anime.
It's everything. You can meet new people again. You can buy new things. You can experience more and open your world a little bit more better.
there's no grumpy people there. It's a high adrenaline, fast-paced motion, very crowded, and yet it seems very controlled.
My. This is bigger than I thought it'd be. Did anyone know this was going to be this big?
Nah, I most definitely, like, when I was younger, I didn't know. I thought it was just like, when I was younger, I didn't understand the community behind it, so I thought it was just like cartoons, like, oh, this is really cool, I'm really interested in it.
Oh, I didn't even know it was Japanese, to be quite honest, because like I was really, really little when I got into it, but it's kind of, it fell within the same range of like, you know, it was like SpongeBob, and then it's just like you went from like SpongeBob to like Scooby-Doo to like Pokemon, Card Captor. It's just sort of like they were, to me, they were cartoons.
The late 80s, anime was different. It was more attracted to late 20s to 30s. It was not so much attracted to little kids or younger generation as it is now.
I think I started watching anime when I was about maybe 8 on 4Kids. Back in the day when 4Kids was the shit. And then I kind of grew out of it, and then I remember anime going into Cartoon Network for a little bit, and then it went into Toonami. That was the shit.
I started with cartoons a little bit, because then I was watching Bugs Bunny to Popeye, and then, believe it or not, I actually did watch a little bit of episodes of Astro Boy, because I used to collect the comic books. I had a toy, and then Mega Man was dope. I grew up a lot with the 90s influence, So Dragon Ball Z was there, of course.
My first one was Cardcaptor Sakura, which is like an old like 90s magic girl anime. So when I was like 5, I was like, this is the best thing ever. Because, well, the girl Sakura who's in that anime, she's like end of elementary, like going into junior high. She's like really, really young. But me being 5, I was just like, oh, she's like older than me. Like she's close to my age. She's so cool. She can like fly around and she's got like a tiny little like sidekick and stuff.
I remember when I was younger, I used to watch it with my brother because he used to watch One Piece and Inuyasha and stuff like that when it came on like Toonami and 4Kids. So, but I didn't really get heavy into it until freshman year, and I like binge watched Blue Exorcist, and it was like really great. And then like after that, it was just all uphill. So.
And then my favorite of all time has to be Angel Beats. To this day, if I rewatch it, it makes me tear up.
そんなまがいもんの記憶で消すな俺たちの生きてきた人生は本物だ何一つ嘘のない人生なんだよみんな懸命に生きてきたんだよそうして刻まれてきた記憶なんだ必死に生きてきた記憶なんだそれがどんなものであろうが俺たちの生きてきた人生なんだよそれを結果だけ上塗りしようだなんてお前の人生だって本物だったはずだろ兄が死んだ
Powerful stuff. I feel it's just this well received. Maybe there's gotta be influence.
I guess a little bit because there is the Disney and Studio Ghibli influences on each other. And I guess like some cartoons do see a copy from anime because I believe that Boondocks did some fighting scenes that was directly related to Naruto at some point. So I think they each inspire each other because, to be honest, like storytellers, there's always a story that is always the same, or they have similarities. It just depends on how it's being told.
No. It does have a slight impact, but not as much of a noticeable one that if you look at a Superman, an X-Men, a Spider-Man, we have a distinct type of art style in America that we've been following for decades. Anime has a distinctive art style that they've been following for decades. They sometimes cross over, but very short. There are some comics that Marvel or DC might have done in paying homage to a Japanese anime type of style of work, but Japanese anime is prevalent to Japan. American comics are prevalent to American. We have Arnold Schwarzenegger, we have these types of characters that are bodybuilders, we have Sylvester Stallone, we have The Rock. In Japan, they don't. Japan has a very gentle society, and I think they don't want that, I don't think they want that hardened image in their manga.
Well, if it's true, then how far does this fandom reach?
I think I remember there was one time at Payson, or Anime Central, it happens in Chicago. I was walking by a booth and there was this chick who was selling a bunch of like these cute little like pastel, like pink and purple bright little charms and stuff like that, like bunnies and cats. They were really, really cute. And I was asking her about it, and it's just like she would do them at night because during the day she was a doctor.
Last time when I was at a convention, there were like 30, 40-year-olds, and then there was 5-year-olds just dressing up with their parents.
Anime has an adult side, and that's considered hentai. There's no morality there. But that's only one broad spectrum of anime, and that goes all the way to the extreme. Now let's take it all the way back. You know, if you have children, you don't give them that. You give them their Disney-esque books, which has plenty of morality. That's cute, sugary, sweet.
Yeah, so there's most definitely a spectrum. Like, there's a wide, like, there are children who are into anime, but there are also, like, 50-year-old adults who are, like, really into anime and stuff.
I've seen like big buff guys wear like cute little like Sailor Moon outfits because they're just like, she's my favorite Sailor Scout. Why wouldn't I cosplay this?
It just feels like community, a fellowship. It's so welcoming. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, because as I was saying before, like when you go to a con, like because people are like really interested in what you're interested in as well, you could just walk up to somebody, oh, you're like dressed up as this person. Have you seen this episode? Like it's really inviting to be able to just talk to somebody about something you're really passionate about.
I would say it's more of like a tight. It's definitely like a group bonding kind of thing because it's just like I've had friends that I met in high school because of anime that I still talk to now because like the big thing that like brought us together as friends was just like we had nobody else to go to conventions with. So it's just like we were like these like loner people. It's just like, well, there's like 4 of us. That's a group. Let's just all go together. Yeah. And then it's just like over that course of like that weekend, it's like you slowly like become friends, and then like you go back into like normal everyday life. But it's just like, hey, remember when this happened like 2 weeks ago at that con? And then it just kind of goes from there.
But of course, it's like it's a whole thing of like coming together as one type of being. Like people actually that go to basketball games, they all have 2 teams separate, but they all share the culture of basketball. They all watch the same thing. Anime is like that.
How enlightening. How endearing. Everything I've learned, I've loved. Everything I've loved, I've learned. I wish to pursue this idea. I hope to see where it brings me in life. What can this ideology, this cultural existence, enhance in my life? Or should I only enjoy it? Life is strange. Now, I need to know to whoever's listening. Are you